Hello, this is my video project on hydroponics in American Samoa. We'll be covering different kinds of hydroponic systems. We'll also be looking at the different things you can do to maintain these systems, which also include cleaning and mixing and testing your fertilizer solution. We'll also be covering small things like how to build. Well, not exactly how to build, but the things that you need to make these systems. So the first system we'll cover is the NFT. The nutrient film technique, otherwise known as the NFT, is a common hydroponic system used amongst hydroponic growers in many places in the world. This system uses slope channels, which have irrigation tubes, which feed the plant roots continuous recirculated nutrient solution. Hydroponic systems are known for efficient water use, which allow for greater increased yield and rapid growth. Here we have varieties of lettuce growing in tutuila greens. Having control over the growing environment is important. In this greenhouse, there is no soil for this farm, so soil-borne diseases and pests are out of the picture. Here we have misters going off to control humidity and temperature of the air inside the greenhouse. The next system we'll be looking at is the Autopot system here at Land Grant. It is a slightly modified version of the Autopot system. So here we go. Here we can see the hydroponic system being used inside of this greenhouse. This is at Land Grant, and it's currently being used to conduct research on different varieties of taro. The system is pretty simple to make. You need any type of container. Here we're using these planter boxes. You also need float valves and drip tubes and buckets. Here we can see how it works. The buckets feed the water solution into the containers, and the valve controls the level. Here's an example of maintenance for this hydroponic system. In this one, we see that there is no nutrient solution. The reservoir water level is low, dirty, and there are insects walking around. All you can see is the algae in that water. When using hydroponics, it's important to constantly maintain them and keep them clean. Next, we'll be looking at how to mix fertilizer. So I will show you guys how to make the fertilizer solution. You need to get your hands on macronutrients and micronutrients, which are dry solubles that you can mix in water, and it creates these solutions behind me, which then can be mixed to make your fertilizer solution. These nutrients are split into two families, the macronutrients and the micronutrients. So these are the two different stocks, the micro and the macro. So when we mix it in water, we can test the strength of the fertilizer solution. So depending on whatever crop you're gonna grow or what stage of crops you're gonna grow, you would want to know the strength of your hydroponic solution. So here we go. Right here, I'm just grabbing 100 milliliters of stock A and 100 milliliters of stock B. Stock A is the clear solution and stock B is the green solution. These are the macro and micronutrients. Okay, so now I'm filling up this 5-gallon bucket to the 5-gallon line, which is about right here. And then I'll mix in 100 milliliters of stock A and stock B. These are the two stock solutions, and this amount is appropriate for this amount of water. I'll show you guys what a bigger reservoir looks like. So here we have stock B going in, stock A going in. You're gonna need something to mix it with, and just mix it until the water is all pretty homogeneous. That looks about right. Now we're gonna test it. What I'll be using are these electrical conductivity meters. A 1.0 reading is a safe reading for most plants, especially at the seedling level. So here we go. So here we have the EC meter, and you put it into solution. It's 1.4. So that's okay. Hydroponic fertilizer I'm gonna show you how to read it with the EC reading. But before that, I just want to tell you guys this is my formula for this specific reservoir. We have the water level at this line, and if you add 400 milliliters of A and B into the solution, you will have an EC reading of 1.2. So it should be that one. So here we go. Here's the EC meter, and you just point the probe into the water. And yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty close. So here I am simply just connecting the drip tubes into the holes that were drilled into these buckets. This is the bucket that we just cleaned. So here we go. Now I'm filling up with the solution that I just showed you guys how to mix, and we're ready to rock. You can grow anything in your hydroponic system. Here we have some more leafy greens. These are our mustard greens that we're currently trialing. Here we can see the seedlings of these mustard greens. This is the appropriate size that you want to begin transplanting. And those ones in the system were transplanted 3 to 4 weeks ago. And with that pretty much covers this system. The next system we'll be taking a look at is the vertical drip stack system, otherwise known as the Vertigrow. Here we go. So here's how the Vertigrow system works in slow motion. You can see a drip tube which drips down nutrient solution into the pole, and it goes throughout the whole system because it's vertically stacked. The pots are filled with coco coir, which is a good substrate for retaining moisture, which works out perfectly for this type of system. Here we can see that 3 weeks later, the mustard greens are harvested, the bok choys are starting to grow, and the green onions have exploded. Here is another look at the lettuce. And here we're going to see how the farm receives irrigation. The tube goes into this reservoir and is filled up with nutrient solution. And here is a look at the water pump. And there's a measuring cup which is used to measure out the macronutrients and the micronutrients. Again, this time it's a different color, different brands, and different nutrients have different colors. Here's a larger farm. This is the Vertigrow farm on Tutuila Greens. They are growing herbs. You can see the chives, the dill, the thyme, and basil. Here, the black pots on the bottom are being utilized to grow eggplants. You could grow many other fruiting crops such as tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers as well. For a farm on this scale, it requires a larger irrigation system. So here we have a reservoir that's appropriate for this size. There's a motorized pump inside that house, which is strong enough to pump nutrients throughout the whole farm. The last system we'll be taking a look at is the crack key method. I got a chance to visit Harada Farms and transplant lettuce seedlings with Larry Harada. So here that is. Here, Larry is showing us how he uses net pots to transplant lettuce seedlings into these hydroponic tables. He dips the roots into a weak nutrient solution with the EC reading of 0.8, which is perfect for growing young seedlings. This table is a piece of plywood with holes drilled in it the size of the net pots. This allows the seedlings to sit above a nutrient reservoir where roots can grow through the net pots into the nutrient solution. There's also enough space above the water level to allow for air circulation. This means that the roots can receive both nutrients, water, and oxygen. You can see that the holes are drilled about a foot apart to allow for the younger seedlings to grow next to each other and to mature into these sizes, which are about ready to harvest. The crack key method is the most popular hydroponic system due to its inexpensive and simple setup. This is a passive system because the nutrient solution just sits in there and it doesn't need to be circulated, and it requires less labor and maintenance. So I would recommend this system for anyone getting interested in hydroponics. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something about hydroponics.